Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Shadow Warrior? Hang on a minute, didn't we see this on the channel earlier? We sort of did. We saw the older version and the slightly polished up, I wouldn't call it a remake, it was more of a, hey, let's get this running easier on modern systems and sell it for $10 kind of re-release in the form of Shadow Warrior Redux. This is in fact a new Shadow Warrior game by Flying Wild Hog. They were the part of the ex-Painkiller team, and they were responsible for a game called Hard Reset, which I actually liked an awful lot. I thought it was a pretty good start when it came down to slowly revitalizing the idea of what FPS used to be versus what it is an awful lot now in more modern AAA FPS campaigns. Shadow Warrior is the second game from this particular studio, and we're going to have a look at it. This is, as you can see down the bottom, the beta version, not final quality, not necessarily representative of the final product. However, the company has authorized and greenlit it for preview, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. First impressions is basically previews anyway, so we're going to do that. Alright, let's have a look at the options menu, shall we? It's a first-person shooter, so I would certainly expect something. Now, the first thing you'll notice compared to Hard Reset is that it doesn't have the ridiculous options menu that takes 5 seconds to go from menu to menu to menu because someone spent way too much time making it look awesome. I'm kind of thankful for that, you know, don't get me wrong, I like the Hard Reset menu, but it was a little ostentatious for my tastes. Okay. So, you've got actually a reasonable amount of HUD customization here. You've got a bunch of different HUD types, which do allow you to customize your crosshairs, which is always nice. I'm not sure which one I prefer, honestly. I've never really thought about it. I think just the standard one is fine. You can actually change the alpha and fade as well as the scale, which is really kind of cool. I think I prefer it kind of smaller, and maybe green. Green might work. Actually, there's a lot of green in this game. That's probably a terrible idea. Oh, yeah, that should work. There we go. Disable that blur effect, of course. Always nice. You can actually turn the HUD off and the crosshairs as well, if you like. I wouldn't suggest it. The game does not have much aim-down sights, if any. So, disabling the crosshair might not be a good idea, I've got to say. You can also change your weapon inertia, which is really kind of cool. So you can mess around with that, and you can get rid of battle messages. These are all nice features, I tend to find. So let's look at the video options. Pretty good. This is vertical FOV, not horizontal, by the way. So before you freak out about it being 65, that is horizontal. Horizontal would be pretty bad at 65. Vertical, on the other hand, that's a little bit of a different matter. Think about how a monitor works. Think about how aspect ratios work, yeah? 16:9, yeah? A monitor is not as high as it is wide, which means that vertical FOV can be lower, and it will still look absolutely fine. For me, I'm going to hit it around 75. You can do the maths yourself. I think that's about 100, give or take. It's pretty damn comfortable regardless. And you can go all the way up to 90 vertical, which is a fairly obscene. That's like 130. So, yeah, you can get it as wide as you want. Okay. Options customization here seems to work pretty well. You can affect which display you want it to run it on. I'm running this without SLI on, by the way, because the current version of the beta was not properly tested with SLI, and as a result, results in a lot of frame rate drops, which is not good. So right now I've got it on high. It's a beta version, so a lot of this stuff is not necessarily optimized yet. Ultra works for the most part really, really well, but I did notice, again, a couple of frame drops. So I put it down to high. It's not really a huge difference. But you've got a lot of options there. You've got pretty much what you want. Look at the controls. Mouse settings. Mouse smoothing defaults to off, which is always nice. You can also change your katana mode in one of 3 ways. I use advanced. I don't know what the difference is, but I guess it's fine. As far as I know. You will be fighting with a sword in this game quite a bit. And then you can, of course, mess around with this stuff. So all of that works pretty well. And then audio sliders, you do have separate audio sliders as well as detected speaker modes and so on and so forth. So there you go. Options menu, pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. Shall we, folks, get into Shadow Warrior? Yes, we shall. Let's do it. Let's rock and roll. Loading times in the beta are a little bit lengthy. I run all my games off SSDs, so if they take this time to load a level, it's usually not too great, especially considering the level's actually not that big. They're often portioned off by very kind of short loading times. I'd say sort of Half-Life 2-esque, but it's much, much shorter than that, but these kind of areas are separated. You don't have this one large, gigantic open level, but it does take a little bit of time to load up. Alright, welcome to this area. There's going to be a boss fight here, so we'll get to demonstrate that, as well as a couple of waves of enemies. That should be easy enough, and then we can go and try and explore just a little bit. So welcome to Shadow Warrior. A little bit different from last time, certainly very Eastern themed. You still play as Lo Wang. There are plenty of jokes that you would expect. The dialogue is, in places, surprisingly funny, and this time around you have a little demon companion that consistently snarks about everything you do, which is really kind of cool. The revolver, I don't believe that was in the original Shadow Warrior. The Uzi is back, and yes, you can dual wield it. You could even check the ammo for some reason with the R key, even if you are fully loaded. You can dual wield Uzis, but you do need to buy an upgrade in order to make that happen. I'll explain kind of how the upgrade system works once we've fought the boss. And your trusty katana, which by pressing R you can clean it, which is always wonderful, isn't it? Now, this weapon actually plays a much greater role in this version of Shadow Warrior than it did back in the 90s. And really, I don't want to make too many comparisons to the original game because this is not the old Shadow Warrior. No, in many ways. In many, many ways. It's not like Shadow Warrior is really a franchise to begin with. Okay, let's get to some fighting, shall we? Let's do that. Down we go. And here comes a gigantic Minotaur bastard thingy. So as you can see, I've got a couple of different fire modes on this particular weapon. And it's actually quite effective if you shoot the right bit. Yeah? Enemies are bullet spongy unless you hit them in the limbs that you wish to remove. So you do have to be a little bit careful about that. The sword is a surprisingly effective weapon. Because it slices, it dices, as you can see. It works particularly well. Uh-oh. Didn't quite go the way I was hoping for. The sword also has a number of different techniques which you can learn. The game actually has a bunch of basically magical powers in the form of ki. So if I want to use one, I could use a selection. There we go. Could use a selection of button presses in order to activate various different key powers. This one being healing. The health system in this game is a little strange. Not necessarily what you would have expected. It does have, very much so, a pickup-based system, but you are able to regenerate your health to 65 by the use of a key power, which is an interesting way of doing things. You can't go back to full with it, and it does take some time, as you can see. You can't fight while... Well, you kind of can fight. You can, as you can see, utilize a one-handed weapon while you're doing so, but it does take a little bit of time and can be interrupted, so you do want to watch out for that. Ah! This guy's annoying as hell, what can I say? So it's a rather interesting system. If you want to get up to 100 health, then you've got to actually find med packs, yeah? Regular med packs. Which is nice. That's actually a nice little mix. So you can see I'm trying to take this guy's arms off. It's actually the best way to deal with them. Some of the enemies are dealt with just by killing them. A lot of them, though, you want to either decapitate them, maybe cut their legs or limbs off. Almost a bit Dead Space-esque, actually, and that works a little bit better than just shooting them in the body. Most of the time, shooting the demons in the body is an extremely ineffective way of doing things. It just doesn't do the job. Now, I was mentioning earlier, there are different kinds of sword strike. Well, there are. If I double tap forward and then hold the left mouse button, this will charge up a strike, which is, let's just say, very, very effective. Slicey, slicey! And I think I pissed them off. Yep, I did. Alright, let's go to town. Why not? You'll be able to learn various different strikes and also upgrade your weapon. And, of course, shurikens make their comeback. You can use them while you're doing that. And if you want to use your sword while using weapons, you kind of can. You can do it in a traditional sort of melee style. If you hit the Q button, it's a quick slash upwards, which is reasonably effective if you aim towards the neck. In this case, we're going to be dealing with some fairly difficult demons that don't go down in a hurry. So I'll probably get my sword out again. Early on in the game, unless you have that kind of precision with your ranged weapons, you're not going to do all that well. In that case, I actually cut the little sort of flags off the top of that demon, which actually took it down. Seems to be relatively effective. Sometimes they have armored heads, they're more difficult to deal with, but they bisect rather nicely. I gotta say, the sword in this game is freaking awesome. It's one of the most fun melee weapons I've ever had the pleasure to use in a first-person game. And that's surprising, because I expected it just to be kind of a backup weapon. Oh no, oh no. If you want to build powers that are based around swordplay and taking damage in melee, you can do that. You can move fairly quickly, you've got kicks to knock enemies down, you've got various key powers that have similar effects, like that, for instance, which, of course, you can power up as well. So you can use ranged weapons, or you can use melee weapons, or you can use both without too much of a problem. Time to go absolute ape on these guys. There we go. You no mess with Lo Wang. Off with the head. You'll also notice there's some little sort of score indicators, floating damage, but little... What can you call them? I suppose they're just like battle dialogue that pops up every now and again. The reason why it does that is to indicate that you've done something particularly stylish. Each area in the game is scored out of 5, and at the end of the level you'll get an overall karma score as well. You get bonus karma depending on how well you did stuff. Aha! That was cool because it seems like the enemies really do have a fairly accurate sort of damage model where you can slice them in a specific area and they will come apart in that area as well. It's not just a case of, oh, swing the sword and then they kind of come to pieces. No, it depends on where you swung that sword. Then that's where they will come to pieces. And God, it is cool.
Is it me, or are you actually enjoying yourself?
Man has to take pride in what he does best.
You really put the ass in Mass Murderer.
Snarky Demon. Because why not? The gunplay up to this point has been reasonable. Like, it's very satisfying when you hit those headshots, and also the limb shots as well. The overall, the guns do feel kind of weak, but they do have a lot of upgrades to change that. Right now, if I were to get the kind of speed barrel upgrade for my revolver, it would fire 20% faster. Probably make it a hell of a lot more useful. One of the other upgrades was that rapid fire, sort of Western style thing that was going on there. As you can see, I'm kind of exploring for stuff, and you pay for all of that with money that you will find around the area. The game also has secrets, interestingly enough, and I didn't manage to find a single one of them in the first level. Apparently there were 8. I found 0. So they're pretty well hidden, I gotta say. It doesn't count finding this stuff just kind of lying around in chests. No, this is the Bioshock version of a secret. No, it's a legitimate secret, old school Shadow Warrior style. But, well, what can I say? It was pretty difficult to find. Being able to blow up cars using key powers is really rather amusing as well. The level design overall is definitely not like the original Shadow Warrior. I think this is what's going to kick a lot of people in the teeth if they were looking for sort of I don't know, what's the best way to describe it? Because you can reboot the game and then you can kind of remake or remaster a game. It's not a Shadow Warrior remake, yeah? Shadow Warrior was never really a franchise to begin with. You could probably just say, look, Shadow Warrior was an old game for like 1995 or whatever, and we made a new game based on the same kind of character when he's a lot younger, and we put our own twists on it, and this is how it is. And that's what Shadow Warrior is now, by Flying Wild Hog. It is not Rise of the Triad. It is not similar to that. Rise of the Triad was actually very faithful in terms of what they did. Their level design is very similar to the way that the levels were designed in the original Rise of the Triad. All of the original quirks about that game are still there. This time around, this is a more modern FPS, but it's modern in a rather pleasant way. Yeah? It's modern in a painkiller kind of way, which makes sense considering the actual history of this particular company and its employees. That's what it feels like. And that's good. That's really, really good. I think if there were a weakness to it, it is the level design. Just saying that there is a little bit of exploration here, but it's kind of like the Crysis 2 style of open-ish levels. Like, it's a wide road. That's probably the best way to describe it. And that's not ideal, I gotta say. There are definitely better ways of doing it than that. I would have perhaps preferred... Oh, looks like I can't heal while I'm on fire. That's an unfortunate problem. I would have perhaps preferred the older Shadow Warrior style of level design, just because we don't have enough games that do that. Thankfully, we do have Rise of the Triad if you want to play a game like that, or of course the original Shadow Warrior. This time around, these levels are a lot more linear, and that's quite similar to Flying Wild Hog's other game, which is Hard Reset, where it's like, well, it's a linear path, but occasionally there's a little branch to go and explore and get something, and then you get back on the linear path. This game is highly linear. That's very obvious in the first couple of levels, where you're actually going through what appears to be forests, but it's obviously just like a forested path where you can't really go off that path. And that's going to annoy some people. But I can kind of accept it. I think the level design is definitely better than Hard Resets. That certainly had its own problems. And it gives you just enough freedom to give you the idea that you're actually exploring and having a good time trying to find stuff. And since the game does have an economy, and you are looking to try and get money for upgrades and also get ammunition, because who the hell wants to spend money on ammo, right? There is a reason. There is a rational reason to be looking for this stuff. I don't believe you can get weapons earlier, as far as I can tell. You know, it's not like you can get the most powerful weapons hidden in level 1, but then again, I don't know. I couldn't find any other secrets that were that bloody well hidden, so who the hell knows in that respect? Hello, what do we have here? I want to get enough money so I can get the dual Uzis. I don't think I've got enough. So let's actually have a look at the upgrade system and show you how that actually works here. So these are the various weapons that I currently have. I don't have enough for the dual Uzis. The Gunslinger mod is 3,200. So you collect cash as you go through the game, as you might imagine. You also have skills and powers. These can be upgraded by different currencies. Karma, I believe karma points is what you get, and I believe you can earn this faster depending on how well you do in combat. And then weapons, and then powers. And powers are, you get key crystals in order to upgrade this stuff. So I actually have a key crystal. I could upload something. I currently have Dragon's Roar. I could get Dragon's Pounce, which I believe, yeah, that's an upgrade to Dragon's Roar. I'll get Calming Breeze, uses key to calm down enemies affected by Dragon's Roar. So these, seems like all of these kind of tie into this particular upgrade here. And there are some upgrades which are specific to sword moves, and there are some upgrades which are just basically magic powers, which you can use without the sword out. Dragon Scales blocks 40% of melee damage incoming for the front. That seems kind of useful, actually. If I want to get with the sword fighting, then that's cool, and that actually puts it to 2 on your character as well. Not that you generally see your character model outside of this anyway. So as you'll note, to activate these, you have to do a button combination, which is a little bit fighting game-esque, and it's actually surprisingly easy to get the hang of, which is pretty cool. Tap, tap A, and right mouse button. Alright, okay. What are we looking at on skill points? We've got 2 karma points, so... base HP will increase by 10 points. Yep, that's probably a good idea. Don't really want rage, because I generally don't drop that low anyway. Not too big a deal. Drain soul. That sounds good. If something gets really, really bad, I'll be able to sort of fight my way back up, which is cool. So overall, each weapon seems to have 4 upgrades available to it. Some are like, oh, does a bit extra damage, and some are really big differences to the weapon, like dual wielding and so on and so forth. And then you can also buy ammo as well, which you can do anywhere, which is kind of weird. I don't really like the idea of buying ammo. I think they should have just emphasized finding it. I don't see the point. I mean, the sword's so effective anyway. Do you really need the ability to pick up ammo anywhere in the level? I don't think you actually do. I really don't think so. Especially in combination with the key powers, which don't actually seem to have any... doesn't seem to be any resource involved in using them. It's just kind of a cooldown-based thing. Let's bust this. There we go. This should open up a part of the level. Instead of keys, and by keys I actually mean keys to unlock stuff, instead of key powers or chi powers or whatever, you break open these idols which you find, which will generally unlock a new portion of the level. It's a fairly elegant way of doing things. I mean, it has the same effect as a key, honestly, but hey, whatever works. Alright. Now, is this my shield power that I was just using there? Or... ah, yes, there we go. Ooh! Ooh! Look at this! Hey! Oh, wow! Things are coming to pieces. It's amazing. Look at this nonsense. Alright, I'm gonna have you. There we go. The massacre. Yes. Oh, yes. It's just a shame, I suppose, at this stage that the guns aren't a little bit more interesting, but I know they get more interesting because I have cheat codes. Yes, folks, I have the cheat codes that tell me how to get all of the guns. Let me guess, you would love for me to get them out. Well, let me clear this area out first, and then I'll show you all of the weapons that are actually available in this game right now in the beta. There might be a couple more once it actually comes out. I don't really know. Still not a complete version. So far, like, I am having so much fun with Shadow Warrior, it beggars belief. And when I heard it was being done by Flying Wild Hog, I gotta say I was pretty hopeful, because I liked Hard Reset for the most part. I thought it had some issues, but I really liked that game. Shadow Warrior is just an absolute blast. It is incredibly fun. It's fun-loving. It doesn't take itself too seriously. The sword combat is some of the best that I've used in an FPS. I mean, I'd easily say it's better than something like Dishonored, for instance. It's easily on the level of Dark Messiah, which I think up to this point had the best first-person sword combat, but this is an FPS. So, to me, it didn't seem like I would have expected to have good combat like this. Yeah? I would have thought it would just be an afterthought, but they put so much focus on it, it actually ended up being really, really cool. There's good diverse environments as well. You fight inside sort of modern-looking towns, you fight inside forests, temples, and all sorts of things like that, which is certainly neat to say the least. I guess we're dropping down here, by the looks of it. And for the most part, the game doesn't interrupt the action either. There's very occasional cutscenes. Most of the walkie-talkie stuff is just done while you're walking, which is great. There aren't that many cutscenes whatsoever. There's a few at the start of the game, but aside from that, it's not too shabby whatsoever. Here you go, have some of that. You know you love it. Ooh, that's an explosive barrel. Yes! Hee. Get myself some extra points for that, because why not? It's just bloody wonderful. Holy hell. It's funny because there are actually so many games that involve killing stuff that only need to have one really good weapon to completely change your perception of them and just say, yep, this game is amazing. And in this case, it's just your humble sword. A humble frickin' sword is so much fun to use and so responsive, and the feedback that you get from hitting the enemy in just the right place is so damn good that, hey, I could play the entire game using nothing but the sword and have a laugh. However, we're not going to do that. Not in this playthrough, oh no. We're going to go to 11. Right across the board, see? Would you like some wang? We can do some wang. I'm going to block this out because I have no intention of get back here! I have no intention of letting you guys see this cheat, so this is getting blocked out. Get all weapons. Alright. So we now have all weapons. Let's have a look at them. So these are all the weapons currently available in the beta. I don't know how many there will be in the final version. There may be more. I asked their official Twitter. They said about 10. I think there's about 8 or so here. So submachine gun. Auto crossbow. Yes, indeed. Which comes with sticky bombs upgrade for Semtex explosives high strain system, which allows you to shoot bolts with greater speed, hold to charge, and a clip extender drum magazine. The Zik S shotgun, possibly one of the most badass looking shotguns ever, except when you add 2 more barrels, where it becomes the most badass looking shotgun ever. There we go. That even looks more ridiculous than the painkiller one, which also has an ability to fire from all barrels simultaneously and custom double shells for easy reloading. The Onibi flamethrower. It's a flamethrower, and they stuck a grenade launcher on it, because, you know, why not? With extended fuel container and a napalm upgrades. They all have visual upgrades as well, which I really, really like. It affects the actual gun model. The Yari Type 24 rocket launcher. With nukes, obviously. Of course. Multi-barrel rocket launcher. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the arsenal. We're going to play with it. Yes, indeed, we are going to play with it. Would you like me to play with it with all the upgrades on? Of course you would. Of course you would. Let's do that. Get all of my upgrades. Alright. Now that's an Uzi. And that's another one. Let's get him. Now this is what I'm talking about. Let's give this a bash, shall we? Let's give myself a quick heal up in the process. Now, using the second Uzi is actually a alternate attack for this weapon. It's pretty cool. It's not going to give me any demons to kill now, is it? Oh, yes it is. Open up. Yes. Alright, okay. That's that. This is the crossbow. With sticky grenades. There we go. And it's kind of fantastic. Oh, man. It pops heads off. And you get a bunch of points for sticking people to walls with it, by the looks of it. What else have we got? 4-barreled shotgun. All the barrels of the shotgun. There's nothing left of it. It came to pieces. This is wonderful. There you go. Oh, man. This shotty is so cool. What else have we got? Flamethrower. Ooh, we're going inside. Oh, are we? Nope. I guess we're not. Okay. Where the hell are we going, then? It's suddenly got a little bit dark, hasn't it? It looks like I should want to go in here, but I guess not. Come on, I want to use the flamethrower on something. Preferably something flammable. I wonder if it could have something to do with the fact that that guy's up there, possibly. Alright, let's get something that's a little bit more effective at longer range. What the hell? Well, that's a thing. Interesting. Alright. How about the rocket launcher? Yeah, this should do the trick. Lock and load. Oh, yes. It's glorious. It is absolutely glorious. There you go. Have some of that. Now is it going to let me through? Probably. There we go. Yeah, so it very painkiller-esque, except they don't make it as obvious in that respect. This is really good. Like, this is a really good FPS. It is so much fun. The fact that it also happens to have a really good melee mode, some really cool abilities and stuff, it's just kind of icing on the cake. The problems that I've got with it are fairly minor. The fact that at the start, the guns aren't really that fun to use until you start to really get upgrades for them. That kind of sucks. But once you do, it's awesome. Love it. Absolutely love it. The upgrade system kind of feels a little out of place, especially in the sense that you can buy ammo in the level. I think they should just do away with that. I really, really do. Just get rid of that. And then just hide more ammo around the level and make it more of your prerogative to find secrets and hidden stuff and things like that. I think that would have been a little bit more effective. I think that would have been a better idea. So it's a little bit of a shame that they decided that was the way to go. The character upgrade system it's a little strange that they would do that, but if you look at their previous game, well, they did that with hard reset in a way as well, especially with the weapons. So that seems to be a Flying Wild Hog thing. I think, honestly, older shooters didn't really need that to keep people having a sense of momentum forward. I think maybe these days a lot of gamers really need that kind of stuff to feel like they're doing something useful. Screw it, we're getting the flamethrower, right? Yeah, there we go. We can have some of that. You know, mess with Lo Wang. I have an ancient Chinese secret. It's called a flamethrower, and it's wonderful. It is wonderful. Ah, the fodder of the gods. There we go. I'm so easily distracted by how damn cool this game is. Like, graphically, it's pretty damn good. Like, it's impressive. It's got some really awesome effects. Frame rate-wise, it's pretty good even for a beta. I think they can do a little bit more optimization on it, but it runs really, really well. And just overall gunplay-wise and swordplay-wise, once you start getting a couple of those upgrades to make the standard weapons a little bit more interesting, I mean, even the revolver, now that I've got that fire rate increase, is just awesome. It just blows through everything. And then you can make those precise shots to take off limbs and things like that as well. Oh, man. This game is phenomenal. It is so good. So very, very good. I love it. I just take his legs. Oh, my God. It's so great. It's so much fun. I'm so glad this exists. So many FPS taking themselves way too seriously, and then we get Rise of the Triad, and then the beta for bloody Shadow Warrior all within a couple of weeks of each other. What a joyous time to be a PC FPS fan. Jeez. This is a thing. It really, really is. Oh, man. Shadow Warrior, ladies and gentlemen. It is coming your way from Flying Wild Hog, and you should be damn thankful that it is. Oh, this is the new painkiller, folks. This right here is the new damn painkiller. I'll take that. Oh, yes. My name's been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.